Transitioning to Employment for Young Adults with Autism and Asperger Syndrome. A Resource Guide. Marin County, Fall 2013. Getting services within the Department of Rehabilitation of Marin County. Determine eligibility. Read the Consumer Handbook. Submit application. Schedule an appointment with a counselor. Begin the assessment process. Receive Significance of Disability Score. Complete Individualized Plan for Employment. Receive services. Determining eligibility. Am I eligible for services through the Department of Rehabilitation, DOR? Eligibility requirements. 1. You must have a physical or mental impairment that limits your ability to gain employment, and vocational rehabilitation services are necessary to become employed, maintain employment, or prepare for employment. 2. You must be able to benefit from services offered through the DOR to gain employment. 3. Vocational rehabilitation must be necessary to prepare for, obtain, retain, or resume employment. If your disability is severe enough to impair your ability to benefit from DOR services, you will be set up with a trial work experience to determine whether or not you would benefit from DOR services in a realistic work environment. You are eligible for DOR services if you are receiving Social Security Administration benefits or have a valid ticket to work. Consumer Handbook. The Consumer Information Handbook describes the process, in detail, that one must take in order to receive services through the DOR. It lists the necessary steps and describes the requirements to complete each step. Application. There are 3 steps you must complete in order to submit your application. 1. Request services through one of the below methods. Complete and sign a DR 222 Vocational Rehabilitation Services application, in person, online, or by mail. Or visit a one-step center and complete an intake application form requesting vocational rehabilitation services, or otherwise request services from the DOR. 2. Provide the DOR with the information necessary to begin an assessment to determine eligibility and priority for services. 3. Be available to complete the initial interview, watch an orientation video, participate in an evaluation of your skills and capabilities, and complete actions agreed upon between you and your counselor. Schedule appointment with counselor. An appointment is scheduled with an employment counselor to begin the assessment process. If the employment counselor has all of the necessary information, a decision will be made in writing within 60 days. Assessment process. During the assessment process, you and your counselor will discuss your disability and how it may affect your ability to work and the types of Department of Rehabilitation services you may need to become employed. Eligibility. You and your counselor will review your medical and other relevant information to determine how your disability affects your ability to work, and which DOR services can help you keep or get a job. Once your information has been reviewed, your counselor will determine if you are eligible for services. Priority for services. After reviewing and discussing your information about your disability, you and your counselor will discuss how your disability limits you in the 6 following areas of functioning: communication, mobility, interpersonal skills, self-care, work tolerance, and work skills. Based on this evaluation, a disability priority score will be given which represents your work-related limitations. Vocational Rehabilitation Needs Assessment. You and your counselor will discuss relevant assessments that will determine the services and/or assistance you will need to keep or get a job. Your abilities and capabilities will also be discussed during this time. Assessment process. How to help with your assessment process. Bring any documents you have about your disability. Records and benefit letters such as Social Security Administration or your ticket from the Ticket to Work program. A list of contacts that you have consulted about your disability. Any form of documentation about your disability, such as a recent Individualized Education Plan, or IEP. Become familiar with the vocational rehabilitation process. Keep your appointments and arrive on time. Fulfill your obligations that you and your counselor agree upon. Significance of disability score. When the DOR does not have enough funding to serve all applicants, the DOR will use a process called order of selection to make sure that those with the most severe disabilities are served first. Your disability priority score will help determine the priority of services. Based on your disability priority score, you will be placed into one of three groups. 1. Persons in the most significantly disabled category will be served first. 2. Persons in the significantly disabled category will be served second. 3. Persons in the disabled category will be served last. Within each disability priority category, the applicant will be served according to his or her date of application submission. If the DOR does not have enough funding to serve all applicants within your category, you will be placed on a waiting list within your category, informed annually as to which category is being served according to your application date as soon as funds become available. The DOR will provide you with information and referrals to other services to help you reach your employment goals while you are on the DOR waitlist. Go to www.dor.ca.gov for more information about the waitlist process. Individualized plan for employment. You can complete an IPE if you applied for services, completed the assessment process, are eligible for services, are placed in a disability priority category being served. The IPE is a written plan which lists your employment objectives and the vocational rehabilitation services you will receive to reach your employment goals. You and your counselor will develop the IPE jointly as you will discuss your personal and unique strengths, priorities, concerns, interests, and abilities. Individualized plan for employment development. What an IPE includes. Employment goal description and timeline. Description of services and service providers you require. Timeline for services provided. Description of the service process. Explanation of criteria to measure progress. Responsibilities of you, your counselor, and others in the IPE process. If applicable, outline of consumer responsibility in paying for part of the IPE. List of comparable services and benefits you may apply for. Your options for creating your IPE. Developing a personal IPE. Receiving aid from outside resources. Receiving aid from your vocational rehabilitation VR team. A member of your VR team will explain DOR guidelines and IPE components. Review whether or not you must pay for a portion of your services. Explain your need for outside resources. Assist you in completing DOR forms. Explain the Ticket to Work program. Consumer responsibilities. Once your IPE has been developed, you must remain in contact with your counselor and keep all appointments. Discuss any problems that arise that will impact your IPE with your vocational rehabilitation team. Address any changes that need to be made to your plan. Apply for and obtain any comparable services available to you: financial aid, grants, or non-DOR services. If applicable, participate financially in your plan. Attend and fully engage in all training programs and classes. Provide regular process updates, grades, and attend annual review meetings as necessary. Obtain pre-approval from your counselor or rehabilitation supervisor before you purchase any items or services related to your IPE. You must obtain written authorization before any services can be provided. If making a significant change to your IPE, you must come to an agreement with your counselor and sign a written amendment to your IPE. Be respectful, courteous, and considerate with your communication and interaction. Should the consumer fail to cooperate, fail to maintain ongoing communication or scheduled appointments, or fail to make a reasonable effort, may result in the discontinuation of further services and closure of your case. Employment services. The below services are available through the DOR. Not all services will be needed by every consumer. Counseling and guidance. Referrals and assistance to get services from other agencies. Job search and placement assistance. Vocational and other training services. Evaluation of physical and mental impairments. On-the-job personal assistance services. Interpreter services. Rehabilitation and orientation mobility services for individuals who are deaf and/or blind. Occupational licenses, tools, equipment, initial stocks, and supplies. Technical assistance for self-employment. Rehabilitation assistive technology. Supported employment services. Services to the family. Transportation as required, such as travel and related expenses that are necessary to enable you to participate in a vocational rehabilitation service. Post-employment services. Transition services for students. Expansion of employment opportunities for individuals with disabilities, which include but are not limited to professional employment and self-employment. Self-advocacy. Employee positive attributes. Intense focus. Great attention to detail. Give detailed directions. Honest and direct. Punctual and attentive to time-sensitive issues. Trustworthy, reliable, and respectful to commitments. Benefits for the employer. Work opportunity tax credit. Save company time and money. Accommodations increase overall employee and company productivity. Increased employee retention. Lower absenteeism.